Good afternoon. At the outset, I would like to thank the organizers, particularly Dr. Singh, for depositing this faith in me to take this important topic on innovations in medical devices and diagnostics. And I would like to begin by saying that knowing is not enough, and application is more important. Similarly, willing is not enough. We have to perform or do. So anything that I may have missed out or I may not be able to cover, I hope the audience will pardon me for that. Now, when WHO talked about universal health coverage in 2019, they made it their policy that every country should adopt the UHC mandate, and for the UHC mandate, access to healthcare technology is primary. And these technologies should be high quality, they should be affordable, available, accessible, at the same time appropriate to that particular population or subgroup of population. At the same time, the task is being shifted from the diagnostic services being handled by a trained doctor to somebody who is a layman or a paramedic or an ASHA worker who is able to perform these tests, use these devices, and give a diagnostic intimation to the patient. These advances could be in the form of medical devices, they could be an assistive devices, artificial intelligence, or mobile or e-health solutions. And if we look at the future, we see a very aging population, because right now we are probably the youngest nation in the world. We have the maximum population in the youngest age group, and slowly we are heading towards an era where we'll have the maximum population would be the aging population, and their needs would be very different. Push for a personalized treatment. We as allopathists have always believed that the treatment is meant for everybody at every particular. There are no personal predilections to treatment, but we are slowly moving away from that, and we are moving towards personalized treatments, and we are also increasing the availability of healthcare, particularly in India, where programs like Ayushman Bharat are making healthcare accessible to even in remotest corners of the country. As we grow further, the regulatory control, their scrutiny, and the initiatives also grow, and all these in totality will escalate our costs. So to deliver reliable devices that will provide diagnostic, monitoring, and therapeutic capabilities which the market is going to demand, the focus has to shift on newer materials or on advancing manufacturing technologies. Now, these utility of innovations could be patient-centric, could be healthcare-centric, or it could be in terms of sustainability. Any innovation that has to happen when it deals with diagnostics and devices has to address these main issues. When it comes to patient, it has to address the issue of safety, or it has to anchor some benefit to the patient, maybe a reduced stay in the hospital, maybe some psychological benefit or an experiential benefit to the patient, and the recovery time has to reduce. When it comes to healthcare, obviously the cost becomes a very major issue. So if the treatment cost is reduced, if there is a shorter stay of hospital, then fewer attendances are required, there are lesser staff, or even a lower level healthcare provider is able to perform that activity as compared to a trained doctor, it makes a lot of impact on the healthcare delivery systems. Then sustainability, as we move towards eco-friendly approaches, the waste minimization, the use of power or solar or alternative powers usage, and the travel component has to reduce for the patient while traveling to a healthcare society. Now, these technological advances as they move forward could be just a minor change in the system which is already existing. Now, these will have little potential for different outcomes and impact, but there may be a significant modification where the impact will be little higher, or it could be a totally novel technology or a design where the existing technology doesn't carry any backbench. Now, as we see clinical diagnostic assays, as I'm a microbiologist, I mostly deal with infectious diseases, and as the rapidity of the test increases, my confidence in that particular test decreases, as you can see here. Can I have a pointer? Now, as the methods which are direct are going to consume days and hours, but I'm very confident. Yeah, thank you. But I am very confident because what happens is that these direct methods help me to visualize. So what I see, I believe. So But when it comes to the indirect method, when I'm looking for certain antibodies or a response of the body to a particular infection, then my confidence level also goes down as a medical person. So what are the needs when we come to diagnostic assays? Point of care is a term which we are very fond of speaking and very fond of talking about it. So any point of care is what? Very often the point of care gets misused, but it has to satisfy the assured criteria. That means it has to be affordable. I can't have a point of care test when it costs 2,000 rupees, where the same test can be done at my laboratory for 20 rupees. It should be sensitive and specific, therefore it should be accurate, it should be user-friendly, it should be rapid and robust, equipment-free. Like in the morning in the inauguration, there was something about insulin being kept in refrigerator and no access to electricity in most of the villages. Similarly, if I have to centrifuge a sample before running a POC, I don't have electricity, then my problem is the same. And it should be able to be delivered to the patient, right to the patient care. Then it can be an innovative biodesign, or it could be the mobile health technologies which have taken the world by storm. So when we talk about these, it could be a technological advancement, a technological shift, or a technological spectrum, like we said, minor, major, similar to this. And our concept is to reduce the turnaround time and communication of result in a faster manner. So when we look at the technological advancement, we see that from microscopy, we've shifted to nucleic acid technologies. And the similar is a technological shift, but slowly all these nucleic acid technologies are also shifting their base in a way that it becomes much more communicable to the patient. Similarly, a technological spectrum. There are standalone tests which a person can do at home. For example, a home HIV testing, just like a pregnancy ICT. Similarly, there are HIV testing now which ensure confidentiality. Similarly, there are tests which a paramedic can do, and finally there are complicated tests which can be done only in complicated laboratories. When we move from the biodesign process, we see that the need gets structured onto just few common needs. We are talking about unmet needs here, and we come to realize that they all bring down to a few needs which have to develop into a concept and which will travel into a final concept series. And this prototype, till it becomes a final concept, will go through a lot of stages. It will go through the intellectual property stage, the clinical evaluation stage, regulatory stage, business model. How is it feasible in my patient, in your patient? Is it feasible in primary healthcare or in secondary healthcare? So all those relevant models have to be developed. Then the mobile health solutions. The image-based diagnostics and the sensor-based diagnostics are going to revolutionize healthcare in the coming 5 to 10 years. Now we wear our watches which tell us our heart rates in a while ago. Earlier, about 10 years ago, there used to be a line in front of the antenatal OPD in the hospital just to get their blood pressure checked. And now most of the people have these BP instruments at home, and they already check it before they come to the hospital. So what are the various trends which are going on? These are inexpensive, mass-produced components have come up. 3D printing technology is going to revolutionize the prosthesis department. Artificial intelligence, lab on a chip. GeneXpert has modified the detection of tuberculosis, has taken molecular diagnostics at a primary healthcare center under RNTCP. Wearable healthcare monitorings. We've all become fitness freak after wearable healthcare technologies. Technology fusion, miniaturization. As we go smaller and smaller, we have implantable devices, and the age of Star Trek is looking like a reality to all of us. Improved quality inspection, an aging global population, and the growth of emerging market. All of these are actually fueling all these innovations. What is slowing down is the regulatory approvals. Then, are there any problems? Multiple. There are many researchers here, many innovators here who will concur with me when I say that there are many things which remain in the pilot issues only. Lack of funding, lack of regulation, lack of support from peers, from seniors. There are no regulatory protocols. There are high costs involved in research. $80,000 are spent to create a molecule before it comes to the market, which is going to run for $1 or $2. So sustainability and scalability is again a problem. Then comes challenge as a medico. Is this technology feasible for my hospital or my healthcare? Should I go with it? So there is a lot of disconnect between the user and the seller. The user will buy something depending on the need of the patient, enhanced clinical value. If I'm going to get something for my patient, the volume of the tests that are being ordered, the ease of performance that I have in the test, is it able to do multiple sample techniques? Is it able to match my physical requirement? Or is it going to require a specific infrastructure, maybe a completely air-conditioned environment? All this is going to add on to my cost, so I may not be, okay to buy it. Corporate decision would be totally different. It would be a market opportunity, a competitive offering. So we have to find a link between the two in order to have something which is going to sell in the market. Then how much is actually too much? If I'm getting a machine to do urine microscopy at rupees 500 per test, or training a technician to see in a microscope at rupees 20. So any diagnostic test before being used by the healthcare has to answer certain questions. That does it reduce any diagnostic uncertainty? Does it actually influence any treatment options? Does it have any impact on the patient of outcome and society? The most important one, the high quality clinical studies. Do patients undergoing these diagnostic tests have better outcomes? Or in my hospital or ward, is it actually going to be patient useful or cost beneficial? So whenever you try to innovate, you try to answer these questions. And moving from traditional to modern technologies, this kind of comparative effectiveness is a mandate before we go ahead. Now, these are just a few tests which I found from the WHO Innovative Medical Devices list, where they have simple things. Some of these are commercial. These are category 1, which are already available or are being commercialized in the next few years to come. For example, the LED phototherapy unit, SMS smoke cessation systems, reusable neonatal suction systems, and most of these are meant for the mandate of UHC and are meant for being used at a primary healthcare. Then category 2 is for products which are not under the commercialized listing. For example, a simple one-table anesthesia machine, a portable on-site cell sorter and counter for HIV and malaria diagnosis. So decision support systems, and these are one of the few things. Then from the Indian landscape, I found a few from PIRAC website, where medical technology, automated immunodiagnostics, AI-based, these are the ones which are being supported. The most important of them was the iQuant analyzer, which talked about the rapid multiple testings could be done on a single platform with a single prick. Then a lab on a chip design, which is there. A lab on a chip design which could detect cholesterol, creatinine, glucose, which has been fabricated, and this is in the pre-marketing stages. Surface modifications of certain biodesign materials, novel peptide image biomarkers, so many other things are right now in the trial stages. So with this, I would like to end, and I would like to acknowledge a very good friend of mine who's a mission director with BIRAC DBT for helping me with this topic. And as a medical person, I would believe that maybe someday I would have the integration between the biomedical engineering and a doctor to such an extent where I would be able to say, Alexa, what's wrong with my patient? So that is the kind of artificial intelligence to augment what my clinical and my medical acumen says. With that, I would like to wind up. Thank you.